I'm Natalie.
And I'm Kyra.
And today we're going to be talking about Ibsen's A Doll's House and Hedda Gabler.
Yeah. What's interesting about Nora and Hedda is that they're both depicted as these radical women who went against the societal values at the time. And they were both written as characters created by Ibsen, and they were written 11 years apart, so it's an interesting opportunity to examine how the depiction of progressive women had changed and developed over a decade.
Hedda Gabler is not your typical housewife. She's not. We know this. So she is the reflection of women in literature during the 1800s, and that often features a submissive, not complex women characters that are passive, and Hedda Gabler is a reconstruction of that. We think she breaks societal norms, especially the Victorian pressures of this time. She also is very high society, and she is in the news. And she doesn't like to have her name smeared, or she doesn't like to have a bad connotation with her name. So when she,
interesting point, because Nora also cares a lot about her societal appearance. So she really likes to spend her money on lavish gifts for her family and to spoil everyone. And that's because she really likes to appear as if they are very high class and wealthy, and they can afford to spend their money frivolously. So she'll often buy gifts for the kids, and it's set around Christmas time, so she's buying lavish gifts, which she gets in a lot of trouble for from her world. So that's interesting.
Yeah, they're both connected through the caring of the outlook, but Hedda doesn't care about what people specifically, like the people in her social circle care about, and her husband. She cares about just what's in the news.
Yeah, because Nora commits sort of like social suicide in a way where she makes the choice to end the life that she knows by walking out of the door and throwing away her family and her husband and the money and her possible new lover. Whereas Hedda, she commits real suicide and throws her life away. And ends
Shoots
her and actually goes through and ends her life. And so I think it's a really interesting progression that it took, where it's like, I feel like for Nora, Ibsen was like, how far can you push the audience and the roles of women and the escapism that they choose. And so it was almost like testing the water to see how it would go with the first one. With Nora.
And then it did so well.
Yeah, and it went so well, and it was groundbreaking, and it shocked audiences, and audiences all over hated the play, because how could Nora walk out, and how could Nora ignore her womanly duties in a way, and leave her family and house behind. And so once there was a bit of a buzz with Nora's escape, I feel like Ibsen wanted to push it a little further and question what would happen if a female character, committed suicide and ended her life completely. Because I feel like a lot of focus was on the men, and the men can choose their lives and do whatever they want, but the women always have to stay home, and they're in charge of the household, so they could never escape, they could never leave the house, because that was their duty, that's where they belonged. And so Nora escaping the house and Hedda escaping life are sort of connected in that way, and I feel like it was a really interesting progression that he chose.
Okay, what do you think? Why do you think that A Doll's House is still portrayed today?
I think A Doll's House is still important to be performed and watched today, because it's a story that focuses on women taking control of their life and escaping the male-centered narrative,
right,
which I think is really important. And it's a story, although it's a little twisted in the motives and the deception, I think it's a story of a woman doing what she has to do in order to provide for her family, and then also realizing when a situation is unhealthy to be in, especially in marriage, which is so important. To come to the realization and to figure out that marriage is not working and not a healthy situation to be in.
And to be able
to make the choice to leave. Like, everything around her is telling her not to. Like, society is frowning on it, her husband is frowning upon it. Like, there's a lot at stake in her leaving, and she still knows that that's what's best for her and that's what has to happen. Yeah.
I feel like Hedda Gabler is still put on for similar reasons in the way, but I think it's important that they put on Hedda Gabler because she is taking on a role that is generally portrayed by males, like this strong, manipulative person who doesn't really care about her marriage and isn't that invested in it and wants to manipulate everybody around her. And that's like a huge thing of when people like play Hedda. It's always a really difficult choice for people to make, to see, like, to actually decide, is she really this manipulative? Is this how she actually is? What is her motivations for this? And I think it's interesting because everyone who plays her can have like a little bit of a different idea on that, and a little bit of a different idea on why she actually kills herself in the end. Like, what is it for? She speaks about poetics a lot. Is it for poetics? Is it so she doesn't have this big scandal about her life in the news because she didn't like that? There's so many different ways that it could be interpreted. I think it's important to still see this stage today because of that.
Yeah, and I think both women in the plays, Hedda and Nora, both take on the typical male persona, in the fact that they make their own choices and they choose to leave the family behind.
It's laced and layered even more than I think I even originally realized in reading the translation, and it continues to surprise and educate, and you know, there are things that one realizes have been set up at the beginning then that have a payoff at the end, that it's very it's masterful, and Ibsen was masterful.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Kyra.
Tasty.